Fandoms Anonymous.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the one and only new episode of Fandom Talk this Wednesday morning. We are glad to be with you all. We have so much, and I mean so much, to go through today from what's happened within the last week and in the last couple of days and in the last 24 hours. So as always, joining me, I have my main man, Kevin Garlington. What's going on, Kevin?
Hey, good morning. What's up?
And my man, Jeremy Branch from Be Terrible Productions. What's going on, Jeremy?
Not a lot. Well, a lot. Happy to be here, though. We do got a lot to talk about.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started, guys, so we can get through this list that we have for you all this morning. So we're starting off with trailers, and this is the season for trailers. Just know that trailers are going to be coming out every week heading into the summer. So if you guys watched Jimmy Kimmel last night, or if you didn't watch Jimmy Kimmel last night, Chris Pratt was there, and he gave us a new Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. So, guys, Kevin, did you get a chance to watch the trailer, and what do you think about this trailer? I know the last time we talked about the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, we stated that we felt like it was missing something, but we understood that they didn't want to give anything away. So what did you think about the trailer last night?
I thought it was phenomenal. For those people who haven't seen it yet, get online, do yourself a favor, check it out. We finally see Kurt Russell in this trailer. And this is one thing about James Gunn that I like about his approach to marketing these films, or at least what I believe is his stamp on marketing the films. He gives you a lot to look at, but he doesn't really tell you a whole lot about the story. And we know that there's some people who've been cast in this movie who are here who we haven't seen them in the trailers yet. And that lets me know that there's a whole lot of this that we just don't know. And I feel good about going to the theater, sitting in the seat, and being entertained and not being spoiled too much by the trailer. So at this point, I don't need to see anything else from the movie. I'm not watching any more clips, no more trailers. I'm just ready to see it. It looked great.
Most definitely. Jeremy, what's going on with this trailer for you?
Man, it was good. It was so good. I didn't catch it on Jimmy Kimmel, which is unfortunate. I know we'll talk about him here in a minute, but that trailer was incredible. We got a lot of little cute baby Groot shots again in this one, which was real cool.
Hilarious.
Yeah, and we got to see Gamora toting a gun that's like 3 times her size at one point in it. There's just a lot of cool imagery. Like you said, true to Marvel form, they did. They threw that Kurt Russell button at the end of it, right when you think the trailer's about to end. And that's just a great reveal. Like Kevin said, we knew he was going to be in the movie. We knew he was playing Ego, but nobody knew what Ego was going to look like. I don't know if he's going to become a living planet at some point in it, but it was real cool to see Kurt Russell in it. And that shot, the hero shot at the end, when we see all of the Guardians together and Yondu's like standing there with his mohawk, it just looks so cool. So I'm kind of with Kevin as far as not wanting to see a lot more, but it's also a really good point that he's able to get us invested and able to show us the characters and all of that stuff without getting so far into the plot that we feel like we already know the movie going in. For example, those gold people, I didn't know that they were the antagonists in this movie, but it looks like they've got plans for galactic conquest. So I'm eager to see how it plays out.
And like you mentioned, Jeremy, that hilarious group was hilarious in it. When he plugged up the music when they were getting ready to fight.
Yeah.
When he's just walking around when just chaos is going on, and he's just standing there like a little kid would do. Like if a parent's up cooking in the kitchen, kid just walks in the kitchen and waves for no reason. And Gamora just stops and comes out of action mode to like mother mode, like, hi. And that was hilarious to me. And I can say I love Kurt Russell at the end. He's like, boy, I've been waiting a long time to see you. And I thought that was hilarious. And Star-Lord was like, who are you? So I'm glad that we got a new piece of the puzzle headed toward this movie. Like Kevin says, we don't need anything else from this trailer. But speaking of more trailers, I'm going to swing it on over to Jeremy to talking about this new trailer that also debuted last night. Take it away, Jeremy.
So, a little preface to this. If you ask me, pretty much any day of the week, I would tell you that Alien is my all-time favorite movie. It's Alien, Jurassic Park, and there's a couple of other ones, but I've been so excited, especially after that little prologue that we got in regards to Alien Covenant the other day. They've kept it really close to the chest. We haven't got to see, no pun intended, but they kept it really close to the chest and haven't showed us the xenomorph or the neomorph. And this trailer just full on, it's like, this is the world we're on. This is the way that the aliens infect the crew, because we see that little spore with the pollen, and I think it goes in the dude's ear. And then about halfway through the trailer, it just kicks into overdrive, and we start to see so much imagery that's going to tie this world into Prometheus. And I love the design of the neomorph. I get it. It's CGI. That's the kind of the world we live in, and I love the way it moves this time around. It's way faster, looks way more aggressive, and I'm really curious, though, to see how they're going to be able to take all those loose ends from Prometheus and then tie it in with the xenomorphs, because we see that, like, white albino-looking alien in it for a second, too. So I'm curious how the evolution process works. I'm curious how the spores affect the eggs, affect the backbursters in this time around. So there's a lot of open-ended stuff that I'm just really, really anxious and curious to see how it plays out. But, yeah, there's that image where we've got the hooded figure walking through what looks like hundreds of corpses. But right when the I could go on about this forever, but right when the scene starts and she says, "Do you hear that?" Hear what? Nothing. And then it gives us all those shots of the planet, and you realize they're probably the only life on that whole planet other than obviously what we encounter a little bit later. So thumbs up to this trailer. It again got me even more pumped up about it. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
Well, me per se, I've never seen an alien movie. Number one, because I don't like scary movies. So I don't have too much on Alien. I have noticed over the years that it is a big franchise, and it continues to grow and grow and grow. So, Kevin, what's your take on Alien Covenant?
I just want to go zero in on something that Jeremy said that I'm just looking forward to figure out how we get from the Deacon from Prometheus to the Xenomorph. Right. And I know that the Deacon probably won't be in this movie because presumably he was left on the other planet. But we've got this white, seemingly white or off-white alien that we see is kind of small as compared to the Xenomorph. And then we have the fact that you got this hooded figure walking around. I'm just going to make a prediction right now. This could be spoilers, but I have no way of knowing. This is just Kevin Garvison's prediction. I think that hooded figure is David from Prometheus, and I think David is busy. And I think everything that's on that planet that happened, David has something to do with it. If you go back and look at that trailer, there's a shot where there's a xenomorph at the top of this, looks like workshop or whatever. There's a lot of drawings and a lot of different stuff in there, and I think David engineered the xenomorph. I really do. And I think that I agree. Yeah. You see a field with thousands of dead people, and in the beginning of the trailer, he says, "Well, there's wheat here. Like, why would wheat be growing here?" They found a civilization that was there, probably pretty close to man, and David started experimenting because he started experimenting in Prometheus. You know, if you look, he puts the drop in the guy's drink, and then the guy, you know, we know what happens in the movie or whatnot. Yeah. I think if David gets repaired and gets his head on the body, David is doing something there. I think this all goes back to that.
Yeah, that's a great theory. And before we move on from this, it's kind of a good segue to bring up Bill Paxton. Unfortunately, Bill Paxton passed away last week. He was, I want to say, 61 years old, which is very young. And he died from complications to some surgery. But I looked at his IMDb page. I didn't want to miss any of the important milestones that this man was in. But starting in 1982, he was in at least one movie every single year except the 5 seasons that he was leading Big Love. So this man is prolific. He was in Aliens 2 as a character. We'll never forget that line, "Game over, man," has become such a big staple in our culture. You know, I mean, it transcends the movie. People that have never seen the movie know that line. He was the punk in the original Terminator film, and him and Lance Henriksen are the only characters that have ever at least fought, potentially been killed, because we don't know if Paxton was killed by the Terminator, but they're the only two actors that have ever faced off against an alien, a predator, and a Terminator, which is pretty freaking awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so, I mean, he's put his stamp on so many genre films, you know, whether it be horror, whether it be, you know, science fiction, comic book movies and television. So he was just a huge, bit larger-than-life figure in the whole entire industry, and it's a shame to lose somebody so young. And I know 61 may not seem young to all of our listeners, but typically you still got a couple years left after 61. So
right.
It is a real shame to see that happened, and I just kind of wanted to pose it to you guys. What is the Bill Paxton role that has stuck with you more than anything else? And Malcolm, I think you should kick it off.
Well, I didn't know too much about who Bill Paxton was until Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He played Commander Gary on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And just his role on S.H.I.E.L.D., basically he was a S.H.I.E.L.D. operative, but at this time, this was after Winter Soldier, and because if you follow Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'll do a break when a movie is coming out, and after that, whatever happened in the movie affects the show. So this was after the Winter Soldier break. So he was playing a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was also Hydra at the same time. And that was during the whole Deathlock arc. And I wish they would bring Deathlock back on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he was trying to get the technology to make himself a Deathlock. He eventually ended up doing so, but Agent Coulson killed him with this big blaster gun. But you know, it was just his role on there was so dynamic. You could tell that he was you can always tell on the show with new people, new actors, who the most skilled actor is, because it's like the show ended up evolving around him whenever he was in a scene. So, like I said, we do hate to see people, especially celebrities, you know, go at so early, because they have so much to offer when it comes to the movie and cinematic world. But Kevin, what's your take on Bill Paxton?
My favorite two roles for Bill Paxton, it is so many. I'm just going to narrow it down to two. It's kind of a crime, but I have to. I'm going to say his role as Bill Hendricks on Big Love. I watched every episode of that show. And polygamy is a crime in the United States, okay? Let's put that out there. It's against the law, okay? Not just anybody. We're just talking about what's on the books. It's against the law, right? But for somebody to take and make you feel for them, and they're doing this thing that we don't believe to be true or whatever, and for him to take that character and make me feel some sympathy for this guy and what he was going through, that's a great actor right there. I think his performance kind of transcends everything that you kind of believe, and it makes you put stuff on his ear. And a lot of times when you see polygamists in the media, they're really demonized for what they're doing, and rightfully so. I understand that certain things take place that shouldn't be good, but in this particular show, he's just a guy who happens to have a couple of wives, and I think he humanized the character. And then my second mention is Frailty.
Oh, man, and he directed that one too.
Yes, he did. And the thing about Frailty is it's a movie that maybe a lot of people didn't see. I know it wasn't this huge blockbuster, but it is a great film with a great twist. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but if you want to see Bill Paxton give you a really, really strong performance on a subject matter that's kind of touchy for some people, I say give it a shot. But I thought it was a great performance and a great directorial. I think it's a directorial debut, if I'm not mistaken. Those are my two for Bill. Yeah.
Great call,
rest in peace, Bill.
Both of you guys gave great answers, and I just wanted to throw a couple more out there. He was in Titanic, obviously. He was in True Lies, huge movie. He was in Twister, huge movie. And then a couple of standout performances to me, Tombstone, the Western, another one of my favorite movies. And we talked about Kurt Russell. His performance as Wyatt Earp, and Bill Paxton, even though he doesn't get the screen time of Val Kilmer or Kurt Russell, he really did leave an impression as being this loving brother that was willing to go the distance for Wyatt Earp. And that role just really, really spoke to me. And then another criminally underseen movie, and this is Catherine Bigelow's directorial debut. And that's the woman that directed The Hurt Locker and then Zero Dark 30, afterwards James Cameron's ex-wife. But she started with this vampire movie called Near Dark. And Bill Paxton just chews the scenery. Every scene he's in, he's just got so much gravitas. And he plays just an unhinged vampire. And there is a bar scene that rivals the church scene in Kingsman. And it is just, it's so over the top and amazing, kind of the same way Desperado's bar scene was. So, yeah, if you guys haven't, kind of explored Bill Paxton's filmography, that's what he leaves with us. That's his legacy. And, it shouldn't be one of those disposable things, because you could literally spend a month, you know what I mean, watching Bill Paxton's work and just see how influential he was. But, yeah, I guess we'll move on from that, because we do have so much to get to. And another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is the Oscars, which just happened on Sunday. Were you able to catch it?
Yes.
I watched the Oscars from beginning to end.
Nice. So I think we all saw the Oscars. Now the real question, how many of the movies did you guys see?
I saw quite a few of them. Manchester by the Sea is one that I have not watched yet. But other than that, in the Best Picture category, it might have been a few more I can't think of, like Hacksaw Ridge and Silence. But
that's great, man.
I've seen a pretty good bit of them, and I can talk to it a little bit. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't catch many of them. I still haven't seen Moonlight, but after what happened, better believe that I'm going to have to check it out, because we got one of the greatest moments in television history at the Oscars that night. But before we get to the end, I wanted to say that it started out really, really strong. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel. He's one of these talk show hosts. He's not pandering and an ass kisser like Jimmy Fallon is. And I know Jimmy.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Jimmy, I like Jimmy Fallon.
No, you're not alone, Malcolm. I think a lot of people do. But I like Kimmel because he's simultaneously able to kind of be self-deprecating and not go so big for the jokes, but then he's able to bust their balls. He's able to, kind of pick on and, lovingly. He's not being a jerk, but he's able to kind of poke fun at the industry and at the celebrities. And he just brought a good energy to the Oscars, because a lot of times, I mean, I'm sure you guys can back me up on this, it's very self-serious. These people go in there and they're uptight, and they don't seem like they're able to cut loose as much as they do at, say, the Golden Globes. But by starting out with Justin Timberlake and that really strong performance at the beginning, and then him saying just simply, you guys have fun tonight. I mean, you're here to win awards. You should appreciate it. And I just thought that was so cool, and it set the precedent for the rest of the Oscars to be more engaging to the average audience. It didn't seem so detached from the rest of us, and I really appreciated that. Some of Kimmel's bits didn't land all that well, but the majority of the time I was just like, they need to get this dude back, because he really did bring something to it that I appreciated. So I'm watching the Oscars, and she's lovely. I can't think of what her name is right now, but it's the Hawaiian actress from Moana.
Yes.
16-year-old girl. Do y'all know her name?
Mm-hmm.
You know her
No,
name?
I think it's Aaliyah Cavalli.
That's exactly right. Okay, and 16-year-old with pipes like a freaking, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Her voice is so incredible. But the thing that stuck with me is when that person waving the flag whacked her in the back of the head.
Oh,
I
man.
was dying, y'all. I was like, oh, somebody's getting fired. And that was
color guard.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, color guards. And they whacked her in the back of the head, and you could see her face like, ow. And that killed me. I thought that was so funny. And then Twitter was blowing up with it right afterwards. You know, we're like sitting there watching the Twitter feed as it's all going on. And it was a great show. But then I think the moment that we all want to talk about is that at the end, we had Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, who starred with each other in Bonnie and Clyde back at the end of the 70s. A great movie. Mm-hmm. They're both in their 80s now. You know what I mean? They're getting up there in age. And some sort of debacle happened. I can only speculate about how it went down, but they ended up with Emma Stone's Best Actress envelope again, which she just now won it. And then so you can see Warren Beatty's like, something's not right. And he went and he like showed Faye Dunaway to, I perceived it to be like, you see what I'm seeing? This is not right. And then she read it out loud. The winner of Best Picture is La La Land. And everybody went nuts. I assumed that La La Land was going to sweep the entire Oscars. Thank God they didn't. You know, they did get their due and they won some awards, and that's great. But I didn't want to see an Oscars where it was just La La Land, over and over and over again. So the whole crew gets up on the stage. They're being gracious. They're accepting the award. And you see these producers, like, shuffling around in the background. Ryan Gosling standing over in the cut just laughing because he knew real early on something wasn't right. And then they took the award from the dude in La La Land, and they said, actually, the winner is Moonlight. So the whole crew of Moonlight gets up there. It was a mess at this point. Everybody's so damn confused as to what's actually going on. And I do think that it kind of diminished the speeches that the people from Moonlight should have had their minute to talk about. But at the same time, it brought a lot of attention to Moonlight, where everybody saw La La Land, or at least film critics and people who love movies went and saw La La Land, but myself included, I didn't get to see Moonlight, and now I definitely am intrigued. So I was wondering kind of what you guys think. Did that ending negatively or positively affect the movie and the cast of Moonlight?
I'm going to say this.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, I'll say this. It affected them negatively because they didn't get their moment that everybody deserves who wins one of those statues. And they were robbed of something that I think you never know if you're ever going to get back there. Mm-hmm. And I think that they got robbed of something, but it was a mistake. It was an accident. It wasn't like somebody rushed the stage, took the microphone, and ruined their moment. An accident happened.
Which may have happened before.
Uh-huh. Which has happened before. You know what I'm talking about. So, again, it's unfortunate, and I hate that it happened to those guys. And I would hate for it to be the other way around. I would hate for it to be any movie. You know what I mean? To get that. But I'll say this. Nothing that happened there will take away the fact that Moonlight is the best picture this year.
That's right.
You can't. So you got to go back to that part of it and look at it and say nothing will take that away. Yes, this was a snafu, and there's a conspiracy theory out there that the Oscars planned this and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm not going that far. I don't believe that. But I will say this. This was the lowest viewership for the Oscars in 9 years. 31 million people watched it, but it's the lowest viewership they've had in 9 years.
I didn't know that.
Their viewership is going to be through the roof next year because people want to see who's going to mess up.
Yeah.
So I think that that while Moonlight, like you said, it gave them a lot of prestige and a lot of credit because people want to definitely see what this is. You would have that same reaction if they would have just got the right envelope and they called it out. Because you have to remember, La La Land was a favorite going into this thing. So the fact that this movie toppled La La Land in that category, they didn't need the drama. It was going to – if you beat La La Land for Best Picture, you're already good. And they did that.
Yeah.
So hopefully, those guys, they don't feel so bad about what happened and they can just move on. But I'll say this and I'll end it. So PwC, Price Waterhouse Company, whatever the name of the company is that puts on the Oscars and guards the envelopes and everything, they released the name of the guy who messed up. And I don't want to call his I don't want to call his name out because I think they threw him under the bus, so I don't want to call his name out. But there's a press release out there where they put his name out there and said this is the guy that messed up, because there are two accountants, one on each side of the stage, that have a whole run of the envelope. So one on the right side, one on the left side. And they did a preliminary investigation showed that he was the one that gave the wrong envelope. And the reason they know that is because the young lady, his counterpart on the other side of the stage, her envelope was with Emma Stone after she got her Oscar. So they know what side of the stage the envelope came from. Now, how we get to this point, I don't know. They just know where it came from, and they called his name out. I thought that was
unbelievable.
Pretty bad. But anyway, so that's my take on the Oscars.
Well, I guess because you basically touched on what I was going to say. My question is, so if you have two people on both sides, is the envelope handed out based on where the presenters come from, the area the presenters come from, whether they come out on the left or whether they come out on the right? Because if the presenter came out on the same side where the presenter the presenters Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty, if they came out from the side where Emma Stone, okay, this is what I'm trying to say. Basically, let's just say that the person who presented Emma Stone Best Actress came from the left. So that means that envelope left that side, left the left side, and the next envelope is the Best Picture. So if Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway came from the left, that means the next envelope is going to be the Best Picture envelope. Now, if we're looking at the right side and the presenter for Emma Stone's award did not come from the right, so that means there's two envelopes, Emma Stone and Best Picture. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly how it is, but it kind of makes sense in my mind. So there's a possibility that Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway came from the right and he just handed them the first envelope he had rather than saying, okay, they did Emma Stone, let me go to the next envelope. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the simplest way to think about it. Let's just say this guy has no type of – he made a mistake. Let's just call it what it is. Human error, man. We do it every day. Let's say the guy grabbed the wrong envelope and handed it to him, didn't realize what he did. Now, if you look online, the front of the envelope tells you what it is, and also if you look at the card, it tells you what it says. Okay? So Warren Beatty stopped because the card says Best Actress La La Land. He looked at Faye Dunaway, and Faye yelled it out. What probably could have happened was one of them said, hey, let's double-check this, y'all. Something don't look right with this envelope. Nobody, but it's live TV, and they're in their 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these are 80-year-old people, and it's live TV. So Faye was like, hell, it must be La La Land, and she just yelled it out, But, Malcolm, you're right. There's a couple different – we don't know the process for handing out envelopes and everything. I just know that there's two sets of envelopes on each side of the stage, and somehow the Best Actress envelope made it to those people. And we don't even know at this point if that guy even knew what award was. He might have been confused about what award was being given out. He might have actually thought he gave him the right one. It's a lot of questions that we just can't answer. But we know that, hey, look, the wrong envelope was up there on stage. There are two envelopes. Emma Stone had hers immediately after, and the other one was still on stage. So that's all I know, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of good insight. I actually didn't know that the press release threw that dude under the bus. It seemed like there was a lot of finger pointing going on as far as all that went. I mean, even in the little press conference that Emma Stone had afterwards, she was just like, look, it wasn't on me, So everybody was looking for somebody to blame. I'm sure somebody lost their job, and that's a shame. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you got those lights on you, it doesn't matter what kind of performer you are, but when you're on the stage and 3 seconds goes by with dead silence, that's already too long. You're already throwing off whatever game you had going into it. You're like, oh, it's about to fall apart. So I think they reacted probably the same way I would have reacted. I mean, in hindsight, we can look back and be like, absolutely, Kevin, what you said. They could have taken the second, looked at the producers, and been like, something isn't right. This says Emma Stone bigger than it says La La Land. You know, she didn't direct the movie. So, yeah,
right.
That Oscars thing was kind of the last thing I wanted to wrap up and touch on, because I know you guys got a ton of stuff to get to.
I think the next thing we want to hit is Batman. Go ahead with Batman, Kevin.
Okay, just real quick, and I'm going to make this really brief. The last time we had a Fandom Talk, we didn't know what was going to happen with Batman, and let's just go ahead and let the cat out the bag now. Most people already know this. Matt Reeves is going to direct the Batman. He went into aggressive negotiations with Warner Brothers. At one point, he walked away from the table, and then he came back on the Hollywood, rumor mill saying that he walked away because they weren't offering him enough money to direct the movie. And then he, I guess maybe cooler heads prevailed, and they came back, and they were able to get the price together. So I want to say this one thing. The rumor mill is saying that it was a money thing for him. Nobody's talking about the story or what he wanted to do and this and that. Now, I'm not saying that those aren't the case. I'm just saying that the big deal seems to be his pay. And I think if you look at this, if you look at Matt Reeves and you look at his agents and everything, if you call me in the 23rd hour, my price is going to go up.
Uh-huh.
You've already had script troubles. So Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns turned the script in, and they got Chris Terrio rewriting that script, by the way. That's part of Ben Affleck's problem with Warner Brothers. They're rewriting that script. So you got the script drama. You got a head guy who was going to direct it, who I now have to work with, who may not like what I'm doing and this, that, and the third. Yes, you're going to have to pay me. And it's not going to be my normal fee I would have got had I been here from day one of the production. So I can understand if that was the case. So that's all about Batman. Hey, Matt Reeves is directing. Ben Affleck shot out a tweet and said, hey, Matt Reeves, welcome to the Batcave. So right now we have a director. We have Chris Terrio punching up the script, and they're moving forward. So that's all we got about Batman. I want to jump right into the Submariner, or Namor, as his real name. So a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about the Submariner as far as where his movie rights lie and who has what. I'm going to give you a very brief history of why you have not seen the Submariner in any film so far. Okay? Kevin Feige explained in 2014 the reason why he was not in the MCU is because he had a very lengthy contract gray area that a lot of different people were signed on at a lot of different points for this project, and the only way that they could get him to the screen was a lot of different deals, a lot of meetings. Marvel said, we're not going to deal with that. So Namor, as a character, debuted in 1939. He's 2 years older than Aquaman. There's been a debate about that. Who's older? Submariner's older. Anyway, in 1999, there was a script, okay, and then that script didn't get made. It fell through. Malcolm, you're going to like this. Saban Entertainment tried in the early 2000s to do a Namor movie. That fell through. Okay?
Yeah, they did.
In 2004, Chris Columbus, with the guy that wrote the script for Road to Perdition, was going to do one. That fell through. In 2006, Universal had a script, and they were going to shoot it with the director from T3, Rise of the Machines. Okay? So what happened is, during all that time, you had different producers and different people that signed on. The deal that Universal had with Marvel is 9 years, no movie, it comes back to us. So last year in June, Joe Quesada confirmed the rights are back at Marvel. Okay? So what had to happen was, even though there was a script that failed in 99, producers signed on for that, they expired in 2008. Then you got something that happened in 2006. Those guys expired probably end of 2015. So now Namor is free and clear at Marvel, and they can move forward with it. So I want to kind of explain why you haven't seen him. He's been in developmental hell when a lot of different people signed on, and Marvel doesn't want to have to do these backroom deals with these small companies that want to get a piece of it. They want to own it right out so they can do the character the way they want to. Okay? It's not like the deal with Spider-Man and Sony where you're sitting down with one group of people you could possibly be sitting down with 6 different groups of people who all want a piece of this movie. So that's why they backed up. The only thing I have to say now about the movie itself is that the rumor mill in Hawaii is that pre-production has began, and Marvel is down there scouting locations and looking and talking to different people about this movie. Okay? We don't have a release date. We don't have a director. We don't know anything about a script, and we don't have a lead character yet. We just know Marvel is down there making plans. And that's pretty much where we are with the Submariner. Okay? So rights are back at Marvel. Pre-production has begun in Hawaii. They're just starting to talk about it. So I kind of want to be clear on that so people, when they see that news, they understand what's going on. You guys got any comments about the Submariner?
I guess my question is it going to be a movie? Because Marvel is pretty good, as we know, about not showing putting all their eggs in the basket. So are we looking at a movie? Are we looking at a possible TV series? Or do we know there's just filming going on?
Well, there's no filming. We're talking looking at sets and trying to figure out what looks like what and where should we shoot. That's kind of where they are in pre-production. Okay. What I will say is this. All the outlets that I went to read, they're talking movie. Okay, all the outlets are saying movie. Nobody can confirm that, so it's all unconfirmed. I will tell you this. My next topic is going to kind of tie into this in a certain way, okay? If they're putting the Inhumans on TV, the Submariner could end up on TV. And that's kind of my next topic. But before we go on, I want to make sure to see if Jeremy had any questions or anything or any comments.
Yeah, I mean, that's all news to me. The only article I read is that some fans were wanting Donnie Yen to be cast as Namor. I'm not wild about the character. I've never been a huge fan of Aquaman or Namor. But with that said, it would be very fascinating. I think I'm going to wait and see how Aquaman plays out, how they're able to handle underwater world building. You know, is it going to look like the Gungan palace underneath Naboo? Are they going to be like in a bubble? Or are they actually going to be communicating like freaking dolphins underwater? I have no idea. So I'm curious to see the way that works out. I need to know a little bit more about the Inhumans, which, Kevin, I'm sure you're going to shed some light in a second. But I would have to say it's cinematic. I would have to say with the budget Netflix has, they don't have a means of doing something so extravagant. And ABC shows aren't crushing it. So I just don't see them taking such a, I'm not even going to say a beloved character, but such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Such an ambitious project without knowing that it's going to yield its returns. And I think the best way to do that is by tying it into the larger cinematic universe as a whole. But I don't know what phase he fits into. I don't know how they're going to work him in to something that's already working so well. But I said the same thing about Doctor Strange, and look how that turned out. So, yeah, I'm on board. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Again, this is the early stages, and what this could turn into is what if he makes an appearance on one of the already Marvel movies in Phase 4? What if this is he's going to make an appearance in Infinity War Part 2? You know, we just don't know what it is, so there's so much unconfirmed stuff that I just want to report on what's out there, and is that Marvel is down there poking around just trying to see what's going on. But Namor is one of those characters that when you read him in the comic books, he's an asshole, you know, and he's very powerful, and he's one of those people that if you're going to put him on TV, the fact that they only did Ghost Rider for part of the season because of, you know, budget constraints and everything, if you think that's crazy, wait till you see what you have to do to put Namor on screen. If people who haven't seen him in the comic books, Namor's pretty dope in his power set. So I don't see them making a TV show, so to speak, or at least maybe he'll cameo in the show. But I would think that, Jeremy, you're right, it would be very expensive to portray him in the proper way. So if nobody has anything else about Namor, I'll move on to my next topic. Anything else? Any takers?
I'm good.
Okay. I'm going to move on to Inhuman. Okay. So this is a TV show that's coming to ABC, and I kind of roll my eyes at that. for a particular reason. I have no problem with ABC. It's just that when it comes down to the Marvel Universe and what it's going to take to bring the real Inhumans to life, I don't know if the budget is going to be what I want it to be. But let me tell you exactly what's going on. So this September 2017, the first 2 episodes of this show will be released in IMAX theaters for 2 weeks, okay? It is being shot with IMAX cameras, and we're going to see the moon base where the Inhumans live, okay? Now, there's some casting. There's 2 people that have been casted. Anson Mount, he's the lead character on Hell on Wheels. He'll be Black Bolt, okay? He is Hell on Wheels is on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, it's a great period show about the building of the American Railroad and everything that goes along with that. He's one of those guys that has a face that emotes so much emotion, and you need that for Black Bolt because he's a character who can't talk. Jeremy, I know you don't know much about the Inhumans, but Black Bolt's voice is so powerful that if even a whisper would destroy, I mean, we're talking, even a whisper is so sonic, it would destroy a lot. You know, and if
like
I
want to, like a nuclear bomb, kind of
sort of, basically.
Okay. Yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah.
I want to touch on that because Jeremy, guys, one way you and Jeremy can check out Namor's power set is to check out. I think it was the end of season 2 of Ultimate Spider-Man, where Spider-Man he brought everybody in to help save the universe, basically, and they had the Inhumans there. And everybody else is fighting. Black Bolt is fighting. He's good in hand-to-hand combat. And it was some ships that were coming to attack everybody. And Spider-Man said, "Take it away, Black Bolt." Black Bolt opened his mouth and whispered, not said, whispered, "Boo." And all the ships blew up at once.
Oh, wow.
All he did was whisper. He said, "Boo." And it was so light. Just imagine if he said it in the tone that we're talking in on the phone. We're talking about mass destruction.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'll try to find a clip to send it to you, Jeremy. But that was hilarious to me. That right there in cartoon form will show you his power set. All he did was whisper the word "boo."
That's awesome.
Yeah, Black Bolt is supremely powerful. So, like I said, the first 3 episodes will release September 1st, and they're running IMAX theaters for 2 weeks. And then they're slated to start the show September 26th, which is a Tuesday. So people are kind of nervous for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're saying, are they going to cancel this thing or whatever? I have no clue. We'll know about that in a few weeks here, a few months, once the season is over and they start making announcements as to what they're going to do. So Ewan Rowan has been cast as Maximus the Mad. And if anybody knows who this guy is, he is Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. Okay? Maximus is one of those characters that you could see this guy playing. It's right in his wheelhouse, him playing Ramsay Bolton. And for those people on this who listen to this who haven't seen Game of Thrones, let's just put it like this. Ramsay Bolton is probably the most despicable character on the show. He's tortured
that's
people,
saying a lot.
And that's saying a lot for Game of Thrones. He's tortured people, raped people, done things to people that are just deplorable. And as a viewer, you will take delight in what happens to him. And I'll just leave it right there, okay? So this show, right now, we don't really know what's going on as far as the rest of the casting. They just put out their casting notice, and they're looking for different people. So as the weeks go by, we'll get more casting news. I want to say this. These Inhumans will not be the same Inhumans from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, and they made that clear. Okay, these will not be people who became Inhumans by taking fish oil. These Inhumans were created, right, yeah, and I know Malcolm's probably cringing there, but I got to do what I got to do. Inhumans, the original origin for the Inhumans is they were created by the Kree. Okay, there was a Kree and Squirrel War that happened in the comic books. Look it up because I don't want to go into detail because that's a whole other topic. The Kree and Squirrel War happened. The Kree they came to Earth a long time ago. They took Cro-Magnon man and started playing with their DNA. Okay? They evolved this race of people that live in seclusion. They get with the Terrigen Mist, and they get their powers. These people don't just look like regular humans. Some of them are deformed or look like some of the mutants that we see in the X-Men universe, but they are the real Inhumans, so to speak. The only thing they have in common with those people on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show is the Terrigen Mist part. Okay, but this movie would be centered around what they call the World Family, which is Black Bolt and Medusa and Max. Which is Black Bolt's brother. So the Inhumans itself could be its own podcast. I'm not doing it justice by giving you this brief synopsis. So people that are listening, look them up, please. Read something about them, please. Don't just take my word for it, because this is a real in a nutshell view. So that's what's going on. So we got Inhumans TV show coming to IMAX, shot with IMAX cameras, for the first 2 episodes, and then we'll get a weekly show from there. At this point right now, I'm seeing that this thing is only 10 episodes, and then we'll see where it goes from there. The reason why I wanted to put Namor and Inhumans together is because this is another expansion of the MCU, okay? And I know it's the TV universe or whatever, or could be moved to TV. But the fact that we have Atlantis under the sea and could quite possibly be the MCU, and you have a moon base of a group of humans that evolved from Cro-Magnon on the moon, now tie that all in with Star-Lord and the Celestials and everybody. Now you're starting to get a picture of what the Marvel Universe looks like. So that's why this is so important.
Man, that's a ton of stuff to chew on. That's really cool, because I wasn't real familiar with the Inhumans going into this. Mostly my experience with them is S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, like you guys were talking about with the Terrigen Mist and the fish oil and stuff. But I've heard a couple of things. Go ahead.
In S.H.I.E.L.D.'s defense, the fish oil did not start off the Inhuman story. It's just how it's spun. It's just how it's spun off. They did.
People are taking fish oil and becoming Inhumans. I got a problem with that.
Kevin. I'm not going to let you leave with that. When they first started the Inhuman storyline, they brought in the Kree. There were some Kree actually came on that show. They had to end up fighting. And they also started off with the Terrigen Mist. They found some Terrigen crystals, and they were being used. They also ended up finding basically like a secret hideout where Inhumans were hiding because they were being, what's the word I'm looking for? They were being hunted.
Persecuted?
So they were being hunted. So they had their own hideout. And like I say, you could call her the star character of the show, Daisy Johnson, a.k.a. Quake. She found out she became an Inhuman. And it was something that they were hinting at the entire time as the show was progressing during that season. But it wound up in the whole fish oil thing when they got rid of the Terrigen crystals, and they end up dispersing in the water. They really didn't touch on that. Like, it wasn't an episode every week where somebody took a fish oil pill and they turned. But it was just one of those things that when an Inhuman popped up on the radar or a strange occurrence happened, they knew that that's where it came from. So it wasn't like, who took a fish oil pill this week? It became different. So just want to leave that out there. It did not start with fish oil. They actually had the Terrigen Mist, the Terrigen crystals. They actually went to what was supposed Adelan on the episode. I guess it was the episode when Daisy first turned with somebody dropped the Terrigen crystal in the room. So like I said, it was a whole different ball game. Coulson actually lost his hand because of course we know he's not an Inhuman, but he lost a hand messing around with the Terrigen crystal. So
that's right. I remember all that now that you say it, and I just have to say tomato.
No, but Malcolm, you're right to recap that and to say that there's going to be a little bit of overlap there with the Terrigen Mist and everything, but what they've put out is that this is going to be completely separate from that group of Inhumans.
Right.
And so that's one thing that does connect them. So that's good that we put that information out there, because people should know what you saw is not necessarily that far off, except for the fish oil part. Anyway, so
I wanted to say real quick, Kevin, you brought up that they're using a cast member from Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is the only other television series to ever do the IMAX release. Game of Thrones tends to be about royal families and about family lineage. Are we starting to see a pattern here? Are they trying to give us a Game of Thrones style family dynamic with this series? Do you get that impression?
I do get that impression, and that's what, when you look at this and you look at the Inhumans, yes, they have superpowers. Yes, they do some amazing things. But anytime you have a royal family like they have, it's not the same as Professor X being the leader of the X-Men and having a leader. This is a royal family, and there's a lot of backstabbing and interplay that goes on. I will tell you from the comic books, Maximus the Mad wants power he wants to take the throne from his brother. Okay, that's the underlying thing that kind of goes on. So anytime you have a royal family, you have a lot of that. And the only way I see this working is to humanize that story in a way that we all can understand. You have a lead character. The king cannot speak. You have to do something great and intriguing, and it can't just be about superpowers and this and that, because the show wouldn't work. So yeah, I think exactly. People want to get that Game of Thrones kind of feel. Maybe not necessarily with the cinematography, but for the way that the characters interact and kind of what's at place. I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to it. That's something that I could definitely get on board with from the beginning.
So if nobody has anything else about Inhumans, I have one quick topic I'm just going to speak on real quick. Lastly, for me, is X-Men, the TV show, okay? Bryan Singer is helping to develop this, and the word is that he'll direct the first episode. We have two castings. Jamie Chung as Blink. Jamie Chung was in, I think, The Hangover 3 and Sucker Punch, and she's been in some other stuff too. But we first saw Jamie Chung and Gotham, yeah. But she got her start in, believe it or not, Real World San Diego. She was on that. And she's been cast as Blink, which Blink was actually in the Days of Future Past movie played by, Lily Bing? Is that her name? I don't want to mispronounce the actress's name. She did a great job, really great job in that. But Jamie Chung's taking over for her on TV, and then Sean Teal is going to play a new mutant that's been created for the TV show by the name of Eclipse. And his power set he has manipulation of photons, so it's almost in the vein of Sunspot. Okay, but I don't know how he's necessarily going to look or what his powers look like. But that's a bit of Sunspot's powers. Right now,
let me. I'm sorry, Kevin. What? Let me ask you something. While you're right there at this point. What do you think about them? The fact that they're creating. Not saying the whole show is going to be new mutants that they're creating, but what do you think about the fact that they're actually going in that direction?
I think for the TV show, I think it's okay to pepper in maybe some people who may not necessarily have a comic book origin, so this thing kind of can be its own thing. I think what happens a lot of times is our people, our comic book fans, our nerds, our brothers and sisters in nerddom get so wrapped around the Absalom, well, this character wouldn't do that, or he doesn't look like this, or he wouldn't say that we can't enjoy the story. And I think it's okay to have a mix and pepper some people in, especially if you're talking about these people being X-Men and being in Xavier's Mansion. There are hundreds of students who have come through that school. And it doesn't mean that we've seen every one of them or heard all their stories. And I don't know who's writing this or who's creating it, but I know a lot of times we have an easier time digesting the fact that if somebody said Chris Claremont came to the directors and said, hey, this guy Eclipse, I want you to put him in here because I thought about this and I wrote this out for him, that gives that guy instant credibility. But we don't do the same thing for maybe the writers on the show that say, hey, we got a cool idea for somebody, and he's not necessarily a character that showed up before. So I think what we should do is give it a little bit of room to breathe and see what it is first. And so that's just kind of one of my pet peeves is just it doesn't always have to be what I read, because if it's exactly what I read, then why am I here spending my time watching it? I know what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Not to railroad you, but yeah, I mean, everything you said is so spot on. I do feel like it also will help delineate this new version of the X-Men from the previous X-Men. But again, sorry to railroad you. I'm kind of curious what else is going on with all that.
No, that's pretty much it. I was going to say we don't even know what network this is going to be on. Now, what I'm led to believe, and I will tell you, is that they're going to put this on FX, and that's what we want. Okay, let me tell you why. The president of FX has said in the media in the last month or so, I'm trying to make the basic cable version of HBO. Okay, this is why Legion is there doing what it's doing. This is why Fargo is there. This is why all those TV shows that are critically acclaimed are there, because they want to make sure they're putting out great TV. And I think that if you look at Gotham, you look at the up and down ratings, and you look at how much TV space they have to fill because they are over the air channel that lives off advertisers, and they need 22 weeks or 23 weeks worth of TV. When you look at basic cable, everybody pays for that subscription service, and they have subscribers. So they don't have to worry about trying to get 22 episodes. You can give them a strong 10 episodes, and they can make it work. And I think that will cut out some of the fat from some of these shows. If you ever heard of the rule of 7 with TV shows, you get 7 excellent shows, 7 good shows, and 7 shows to throw away is the rule of 7 for TV shows that have like 21, 22 episodes. When you get down to a lot of these shows, look at your Netflix shows for Marvel. Those are 13 episodes, and all of us are saying they probably could have did this in 10.
Yeah.
So think about how much fat you cut off a 22-episode season. So now we're getting FX saying, hey, we can do this in 10 episodes. And they are. They just did Taboo with Tom Hardy, 8 episodes. Legion is going to be 10 episodes. They're saying this might be 10 episodes. So I think we're going to see some great storytelling. So that's just my spiel on that.
Yeah, I love Legion. First and foremost, before we even get into the rest of it, I think that show is incredible. The direction on the pilot was fresh. It was a new take. We're getting superhero stories like we've never seen before. I mean, it just touches on things. It deals with mental illness in a way that's not condescending or patronizing, and it's really, really smart TV. And to think that and not to diminish what comic book movies and entertainment are, but a lot of times they're pretty surface level. And I mean, the X-Men has been a great outlet for Fox to explore what persecution is. I mean, essentially the X-Men are that team. A lot of people say that you've got Malcolm X's ideology versus Martin Luther King's ideology, and they draw those parallels between Magneto and Xavier. And I think that's cool that we can get into the subtext of it, that we can get into, the struggles of humanity, not even just race, but in the LGBT community and all of these different things that the X-Men are able to play with and that can be in their sandbox and all that. So I think that's awesome. The last couple of weeks, man, we have heard X-Men movie, X-Men TV show, X-Men, I mean, everything, so it's hard for me to keep track of where all this is going, because I heard Sophie Turner is coming back for a Phoenix Saga movie. So
yeah, I'm going to touch on that too. Yep. Yeah.
So it's hard to keep it all straight, but if they continue, I mean, X-Men Apocalypse aside, if they continue on the path of trajectory that they're on, I only expect great things from it. And I do think that the FX network is the perfect place to put it, because you said it, man. They're turning into a cable version of HBO. They are putting out cinematic television shows. And then real quick, before I wrap it up, I do think that there is a lot of filler episodes when you do get into 22 episodes and things like that. I feel like the Marvel TV shows have been about 3, maybe even 5 episodes too long. Like, man, I love the first half of Luke Cage. Man, I love the first half of Daredevil Season 2. And then it kind of started feeling like they're putting 2 storylines into one season. They did it with the Elektra/Punisher thing. They did it with the Diamondback/Cottonmouth thing. So I feel like if they would just streamline these seasons and not try to be everything all at one time, that's great. Because my favorite television show that I've ever seen is 10 episodes long. There's no filler in it. and it's Stranger Things season 1. I've never seen something that spoke to me as a person so much. So I think 10 episodes has got to be the new norm. I think that's the way to tell good stories. And didn't you say Inhumans is 10 episodes as well?
That's what the rumor mill is going with here. I want to say that that's the rumor, but it's not necessarily confirmed. So I'm going to wait for Marvel to give me that firm answer. But that's what is being said at this moment.
Sure. Yeah, this is all really exciting news. I would love to see a serialized version of X-Men, because that 90s cartoon is so dope. I mean, it's almost like lifted from the pages of the Marvel comic books. And like you said, so many people have went to Xavier schools for the gifted that they have the freedom to tell so many stories. And it looks like they are.
Exactly.
They're expanding it. You know, they've got the New Mutants coming out in addition to the X-Men, in addition to an X-Men TV series. So we could even potentially see Fox rise to the level of Marvel if they keep doing what they're doing with Deadpool and with Logan and just branching out and telling these interesting stories. So, yeah, until I see something to the contrary, I think this is going to be an incredible series.
Exactly. And you hit the nail on the head. I know we're getting a little long. I'm just going to say this. Simon Kinberg and Sophie Turner let the cat out of the bag. They're all working on the next X-Men movie. X-Men Supernova is supposed to start filming later on this year. Everybody, the rumor mill is going to be the Dark Phoenix story. We don't know anything else about it. And Simon Kinberg did confirm that at some point in the X-Men universe, they are going to bring in Mr. Sinister. So that's pretty much all the X-Men news I've got. And at this point, we turn it over to Malcolm for our last couple of topics here.
Most definitely, guys. So I want to talk about two things real quick. The first thing I want to mention is there has been a pandemic, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, of shows surrounded around the ideal of time travel. Now, I know a lot of you watch DC Legends of Tomorrow. It's one of my favorite hit shows on Tuesday nights. And there's also another sleeper show that I don't think a lot of people are watching because I don't hear a lot of press on it. It's called Timeless, and it comes on NBC. Have any of you guys had a chance to check it out?
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
I have.
Okay.
This is all new to me, man, so I'd love to hear about it.
Of course, we already know about Legend of Tomorrow, so I'm not going to touch into that. But Timeless is a period piece on NBC. So there's basically this big Tesla-type guy who creates a lot of different technology, but he has also now created a time machine. Now, there's this organization scattered throughout history called Rittenhouse, and they're responsible for a lot of different things that have gone on intertwined throughout history, dating back to the early 1700s of with America starting to form. So you have this one character who basically his family was ordered to be killed by members of Rittenhouse, basically because he didn't do something that he basically didn't do something that they wanted him to do. And if you guys remember, this guy, he played Luca on ER. He was the foreign guy on ER, and he's going throughout time to try to kill Rittenhouse. Kind of like any timeline story, where if you go back this far and get rid of this person, you'll get rid of everything else. So in the beginning of the series, there's these three people, Lucy, Wyatt, and Rufus, Lucy is a historian, so they contract her to know when they're traveling through time to know what's going on just by the year. Wyatt is the army guy, so he's the guns and muscle. And then you have Rufus, who's the mechanic who can drive the time machine. So they go through chasing what's his name on the show? They go through chasing the main antagonist from what he's supposed to be at the beginning, chasing him throughout time, basically trying to stop him from what he's doing. But then over a period of time, they realize that what he's doing is beneficial because this organization called Rittenhouse is really responsible for a lot. With the fact that the guy that's named Wyatt, who's the muscle, his family was killed. not by Rittenhouse, but he was, well, actually, no, his family was ordered to be killed by Rittenhouse as well. So he's hoping that when he goes back that he can change stuff to get his wife and daughter back. Then the girl Lucy, she's going through time. Actually, when the first time she went through time, she lost her sister. Her sister existed before she left, but when she came back, her sister no longer existed. And then, you know, you have the guy Rufus. He's basically doing it because they're threatening his family if he doesn't. So it's an awesome show. You can catch some episodes on Hulu, or you can go online and find it. I've watched it from the beginning because it caught my attention. Like I said, it's a really good show. And it's like the time travel aspect is something that's coming into fruition. Like, for example, there's a new show I believe is coming on ABC. I can't think of the name of it. But basically, you have H.G. Wells, the author, and you have Jack the Ripper. So Jack the Ripper, H.G. Wells apparently created a time machine, and now he's in the year 2017 in New York. And if you know, Jack the Ripper, back in his time, was a serial killer. He killed women. So now you got Jack the Ripper in 2017 killing women because he traveled on a time machine. So I think, you know, this time travel aspect is something that's becoming more and more in the media and more in TV. So what do you guys think about that?
I love this topic. When you talk about both those shows, they sound just infinitely fascinating to me, because when I think about time travel, obviously Terminator is one of the big ones that comes to my mind, whether it be the Sarah Connor Chronicles or, you know, any of those movies explore that, as well as the TV series did. And then obviously Doctor Who is another big one that explores time travel. And without a lot of context to the shows that you're talking about, I just feel like the idea of being able to change the past to affect the future is so ripe for interesting storytelling. 12 Monkeys, you know, that was a TV show that they put, I believe, on Sci-Fi Channel, and it explored that as well. And, you know, a lot of people talk about if you could go back in time and kill Hitler, would you do it, you know? And I think unanimously most people are like, for the greater good, of course I would. But then what kind of ramifications would that actually have? Because from that time forward, everything would be changed. And they talk about the space-time continuum, or they talk about wrinkles in time and the way that, you know, one ripple becomes a wave, and what our desired outcome may not be what we anticipated it being. So I just think that it opens up so many potential avenues to explore, and, you know, it's also kind of interesting to think about how logistically that would work as well. Like if I traveled back in time 20 years, would I still exist in that timeline? And then if I saw myself as a kid, would I carry that experience with me, and would that affect the outcome of my life, you know? So it's just a lot of interesting kind of existential stuff to ponder, and I think that's what's great about the time travel subgenre in the first place.
Kevin, what's your take on the whole time travel situation?
You know, I agree with majority of everything that was just said. My biggest thing is that when you set up time travel in a movie or a TV show, when you set your rules, I just ask that you follow them.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is that what shows make mistakes or they do different things in time travel that mess things up is they set up a set of rules, or they don't clarify the rules and kind of anything goes. And if, you know, we've all seen it in movies before, if you time travel, don't touch yourself, because, you know, if you touch yourself or whatever, you'll end up, you know, destroying yourself or what. Like, there's rules that are set up. And I think that when you look at some of the great time travel movies or films or whatever, they set a set of rules and they follow them and they work inside that framework, so that not every and anything is possible. You know, and there's always seems to be, in the great story, there always seems to be repercussions for time travel. You know, yeah, you changed this, but you didn't change that or whatever, that whole paradox. But on the flip side, you know, the negative side of time travel, I think it can be used as a crutch when people write themselves in a corner on a TV show or something like that. Now, I'm not talking about the show you're talking about, Malcolm, because that show is based off of that whole concept, so that's different. But if we decided we wanted to kill somebody on our TV show we come up with, and we'll say, well, we can't kill them really, so how do we bring them back? Oh, we'll just time travel. I hate that. That's some of the laziest stuff ever to me. And I don't think that if there's a character that you just can't live without at this point, then maybe it's not a good idea to kill them at all. Find something else to do. So, but time travel is cool when it's done right. I think it's great when it's done right, but when it's bad, it's really bad.
Yeah. Like, we've never had time travel in this show before, so now it's just a way to bring this dude back from the dead or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, the next thing I want to move on to, and this will be our final topic for today, is the Black Lightning TV show that's coming to the DC universe. It's going to join the Arrowverse. It's going to join the likes of Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, and Supergirl. And if you haven't seen my Arrow and Supergirl rant, where I'm ranting about how this season of Arrow and Supergirl is going, please do check it out on the YouTube channel here with Fandoms Anonymous. But basically, they're doing a Black Lightning show. Like I said, he's going to be a part of the Arrowverse. They just announced the actor that is playing Black Lightning. I can't think of the name. I believe his name is Chris Williams. I'm not
correct.
sure if I have that.
You got
Chris
it.
Williams. Okay.
Yes.
And basically, the story of Black Lightning is he's a retired superhero who's going on to no longer wear the mantle of Black Lightning anymore, but something brings him back. There's a calling for him to come back. And now he's bringing back the mantle. He's going to be Black Lightning. The DC TV universe is just amazing. I've looked at what they've done over the last 5 years, and we're talking about in the last 5 years we've gotten Arrow, we've gotten Supergirl, we've gotten Flash, we've gotten Legends of Tomorrow, we've gotten the Vixen animated series, who's transformed over into live action. And we've gotten Constantine, who at first was not a part of the DC TV universe because he was over on NBC, and NBC just really didn't do that show any justice because it was an amazing show. And now Constantine, if you didn't know, is going to be an animated series. And if you know DC TV like I do, when they do an animated series, their next goal is to bring it live action because they want to create a storyline where they don't have to make a show about the character or spend several episodes talking about the character. Where you can watch, like, for example, when they did Vixen, you watched the animated series, you knew her background, you knew who she was, how she got her powers, how she got the totem, her history, and then they put her in Arrow season 4. So therefore, there was no question of who is this person. If you watch the animated series, you knew. Now, like I say, they brought Constantine on Arrow season 4 in live action, and I got a chance to meet Matt Ryan as well. Awesome, real cool guy. And now they're going to do him in animated series in the fall. So that lets you know that the next level for him is to come into live action. And hopefully they'll add him to the roster with Legends of Tomorrow. But back to Black Lightning, I think this is going to be an awesome series. The one thing I'm anticipating for this series is through this, hopefully I can get what I've been wanting for a long time and what a lot of people have been wanting for a long time is a live-action static shock. And I'm just going to end what I got to say right now because if they do a live-action static shock as a part of the Black Lightning series, I'll love DC TV forever. But, guys, what do you think about Black Lightning?
Kevin, you want to start this one? I don't know a lot about him.
Yeah, I'm not going to really talk too much about the comic side of Black Lightning. What I'm going to talk about is Chris Williams. Okay, for those old TV heads like me who used to watch Living Single, this is Scooter. He used to be Queen Latifah's love interest on Living Single back in 1993. Okay?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have been watching.
I remember Scooter.
Yeah. I have been watching this guy since 1993, since I was, 10 years old, okay? If you go to his IMDb page, There isn't anything he hasn't done. Look from ER to Friday Night Lights to Cold Case to Prison Break to Grey's Anatomy, and his most recent series was Heart of Dixie, which was on the CW for about 4 or 5 seasons, okay? So he's at home with the CW, and he's a guy he's done more TV than movies. So he's a guy that's at home on a TV series and who can carry a TV series, okay? So I think as far as the casting goes, they knocked it out of the park with somebody that's going to be great. But this is the flip side of this coin for me, and Malcolm knows what I'm about to say. I am not a huge CW DC TV fan. I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad it's out there for those who enjoy it. At most, I will watch The Flash every couple of weeks, okay? At most. So if this is going to be, and it's going to be more of the Berlanti verse and everything like that, this probably won't be a show for me. However, I'm willing to give it a shot, just like I did all the others. But this universe, this DC TV universe is not my favorite. That doesn't mean they don't make great shows for people and people don't love it, though. So as far as the casting of Chris Williams, I think they knocked it out of the park. Somebody that can give you that gravity. He has acting chops. He's worked with some of the best in the business, from movies to TV. And he has a tall stature. He's not a little guy. Like, he's somebody that's interesting, somebody you'll want to see. He has a commanding voice. So they set the character up for success. I'm just not a person who enjoys the Berlanti verse as much as maybe some others do. But great choice for the series.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't remember that about living single until you said it. I was probably the ripe old age of 11 years old, and I remember distinctly now that you said it, which is funny. I had to Google him ahead of time. I'm not going to lie. I knew who Black Bolt was, and I knew about his powers and his abilities. I almost thought that Black Lightning was another name for that same character prior.
Hey guys, just want to say thanks for joining us today. Looks like we had a little technical difficulty. I'm not sure what happened with our recording apparatus, but it cut us off in the podcast real early. We thank you guys for listening to us. As always, you can find us everywhere, all over social media. We're Fandoms Anonymous. That's FANDOMS Anonymous, ANONYMOUS. Please stay tuned to all of our reviews, more Fandom Talk episodes, our reactions, and everything. We're bringing it to you. Fresh, consistent content all day, every day. Thanks for watching.